Hi, my name is Angela Stavrogiannopoulos, and I'm the Public Relations and Communications for Rotary in the Parramatta office. And today I'd like to share with you some information and tips on how to talk to your local press during the centenary year. Most of you will know, Rotary members in Australia and New Zealand are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the first Rotary clubs in Melbourne, Auckland, Wellington, and Sydney in 2021. Rotary clubs and districts will be holding events, raising funds, and carrying out impactful initiatives to bring about positive change in the region and throughout the world. The centenary year is the perfect time to increase our public awareness and understanding of Rotary to set the stage for the next 100 years. One of my main focuses for the next 12 months will be working with the Centenary Committee and promoting our year through the impactful projects happening across the country. We will do this by telling stories that bring the Rotary experience to life and to attract the right audiences based on what inspires them and gives them reason to assist or think something about Rotary's actions. But each club should also be working towards generating positive media coverage about the centenary year and the programs and initiatives in your respective locations. One of the main priorities for public image is to expand our reach. By doing so, we are demonstrating our relevance in our communities. Telling a good story can help you connect with your audience on that emotional level. You need to know your story. When you as Rotarians have that sense of purpose in your story, that also translates to the people you're leading as well and makes the work much more engaging, therefore more productive, possibly more innovative and persuasive. When you're telling a story, you really need to think about why should a person on the street care about your project that you're proposing or currently working on? How does it impact or improve their lives? How will people feel when it's complete? These are the components that make information persuasive as well as memorable. The positive news, though, is that media really needs stories now more than ever. Journalists require fresh information to plug into websites, newspapers, radio slots, TV programs, and Rotary members can take advantage of this news cycle by sharing stories that bring the Rotary experience to life. This could attract new audiences and inspire them. This helps also maintain positive relationships with anyone who has an interest in the organizational brand. Building our reputation by securing effective and positive media coverage increases our brand awareness as well as our reputation. And messages delivered through PR channels, such as articles, are subconsciously regarded by the public as a little bit more legitimate than those presented through marketing tactics, for example, an ad you see on TV or in a magazine or a billboard. You may have heard of the term earned media, and this is a space I'm talking about today. Earned media refers to the content and the conversations about Rotary we've influenced, but is created by someone else and published somewhere other than our own channels. So of course this includes news media coverage, social media mentions, shares, blog posts. But don't forget about owned media, which refers to any channel or profile controlled and maintained by you, such as your club website, social media platforms, and your blogs. You control both the content and the media channel. So you really should be sharing as much as you can on these platforms all the time. The challenge, though, is to package and present the centenary stories in a way that will get them covered by media. Get to know your local media by reading the newspaper, watch the evening news, follow their social media channels, listen to radio, discover what stories they're already sharing. And there are several factors that could determine whether a journalist will be keen on your story. They include the news hook. So a clear reason for telling a story at a particular time. Does the story relate to current events? Think about a project that you might have worked on during COVID. Timeliness, news that's about to occur, ongoing or near completion. If you try to pitch a story that finished a month ago, unfortunately, you've already lost that timeliness factor. Proximity, so news that relates to issues or people occurring within the location of the media organization and its audience. The prominence, so news that involves any public figures or celebrities will always increase the news value. Human interest, now this is probably the most important for you. News that's going to prompt sympathy or an emotional response. Consequence, news about the result of something that has had a significant impact on the audience of the news organization. Visually compelling, so news and attention-grabbing images that can convey your story. Data, any relevant statistics and research that can support the story while you're doing what you're doing is also really important. If the story has some or all of those components, it will make it much easier to draft a clear email or press release with the details of your news. Contacting media can be done via email or phone, and follow-up is suitable after several days. Please note, though, that media do need some notice if they're being asked to cover an event. So by giving suitable notice, you're increasing the likelihood. Local publications and news outlets are usually on a 24-hour news cycle or a 1 to 2 week out of print date. Ideally, local publications need to be pitched a story 2 weeks in advance. Also think about what a journalist wants to read, because over the years, I've developed many relationships with reporters, and by giving them content I know they will run, it certainly does help getting that coverage. But there are also many, many times I've had to reach out to a journalist I have no existing relationship with, but I know they would want to know about the club project or event as it directly affects their location, their community, their readers. So when you're packaging all this up, think about why is this relevant to the news organization's audience. Be concise and include the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. Email or phone is best for initial contact, but if you're going to phone, be ready to answer a reporter's questions. The contact details for most media outlets should be readily available on their website. If you don't connect with a reporter before an event, there is still an opportunity to promote it after the fact. Send a message directly after the event or project about its successes, the fundraising goal, any event photos, any milestones achieved. And of course, share all stories on social media and websites. Journalists also do a lot of research and scroll through social media accounts and websites. So you may find yourself in a situation where a journalist contacts you about doing a story. So it's all about staying relevant and keeping those pages up to date. I mentioned this a couple of moments ago, but as cliche as it sounds, a picture paints 1,000 words. Whether it's an image of you and your team or images from an event, it's important to include photography as part of that media mix. I can't tell you how many times a journalist has asked me for images which I'm unable to supply. So either they cut the story to be shorter when it could have been much bigger, or they cut it all together. The newsroom at local newspapers have gotten smaller, so they don't have the resources to send a photographer to every event or every story. So I suggest ensuring at your next event or service project, make sure to take plenty of images that will definitely help get your story across the line. Also, don't forget about local radio. There are so many community radio stations or even statewide stations if the story fits, itching for radio interviews. So if and when a media interview is set up, I can offer a bit more of a concise briefing, but as a rule of thumb, before an interview, of course, prepare, develop 1 or 2 main points that you want to communicate and rehearse what you want to say. Know the media, know the basics about the outlet as well as the journalist, and provide them with the background so you have an understanding of what the interview will be based around. During the interview, answer at the top. Answer questions first, and then, if necessary, transition to the point you really want to make. Avoid that question-answer syndrome. So don't let the reporter lead you through the interview. Keep control of your message. Use most questions as openings for opportunities to tell your story. Emphasize your main points as well. Reinforce your message through a technique called flagging. Use simple phrases such as, my key point is, or most importantly. Be articulate and concise, and also have fun. And, given all this, please also think ahead. Think ahead in terms of what's coming up in the world that you might be working on. Be ready to go, otherwise you could miss out. For example, does your project impact the environment? Because there is World Environment Day in June. These are just great examples of how you can create a timely reason to talk to media about your project and make it newsworthy. In summary, the centenary year is a great time to let people know about Rotary and expand our reach and increase our impact. I'm excited for the new year, and if you have any questions about what I went through today or need assistance on how to contact your local media this centenary year, please contact me on angela.stavro@rotary.org. That's angela.stavro rotary.org. Thank you so much.